Too dry, so soggy, and tastes like a whole lot of nothing. That's what happens often when trying to make a good vegan stuffing. Stuffing's one of those recipes that sounds simple but breaks down fast if you don't understand how it works. So today, I'm showing you exactly why those things happen and how to fix all three, yielding a perfectly crisp top, tender in the middle with buttery and herby flavor. This is vegan stuffing done right. All right, here's the breakdown. If your stuffing is dry, it's usually because the bread didn't get enough liquid, or the liquid wasn't hot enough to absorb into the crumb. Soggy seems to be our next problem. The bread could be too fresh, or the pieces might have been cut too small. So instead of absorbing flavor, they collapse into mush. Maybe you get those two things right, but it tastes flat, like nothing, nada. That's because most vegan stuffings skip savory fats and natural glutamates that most recipes get from the broth or the drippings. Our fix today solves all three. Dry, strong bread cubes for structure, hot miso stock for even absorption, and a plant buttery aromatic base for flavor and depth. So here's what you'll need to pull it off. Day old and cubed sourdough and cornbread, plant-based butter, yellow onion, celery, garlic, some fresh herbs, some seasonings, white miso paste, unsweetened apple cider, vegetable stock, and that's it. All simple stuff. Let me show you how we're gonna handle it. First, let's dice our onion. Don't overcomplicate, just a simple dice will do. Next up, slice your celery. When slicing, you want the celery to be uniform in size so that you don't have any unexpected crunchiness when you bite into your stuffing. Although that could be a fun way to introduce some fun textures if you're into that kind of thing. From here, we're moving on to our herbs, starting with parsley. Chop just about a quarter cup and get that set aside. The other herbs such as thyme, rosemary, and sage, these can feel a bit tedious. Each of them, you want to be careful not to get the stems into the mix. So take your time, pun intended, when chopping up each of these, prepping for your dish. Next, we're moving on to our bread. This step strongly decides the perfection of your stuffing. For my recipe, I wanted to use two different types of bread. This first one is sourdough. You could actually tear it apart if you feel like, or to get things a little less rustic, you can use a knife. Here, we don't necessarily need the pieces to be uniform in size. Just aim for roughly about 1-inch cubes, no bigger than 1.5 inches. And now our cornbread. We're going to do the same here. I like to chop these so I can keep them at roughly the same size since they tend to crumble a bit more when tearing apart by hand. Quick tip, I like to cube my bread and then have it sit out for a day. This results in a cohesive staleness rather than just parts and pieces stale. We want stale all around. And then lastly, we're mincing our garlic. Garlic is gonna play a major role in drawing out the depth of flavor from our spices. With our day-old, already cubed sourdough and cornbread, we're gonna get it onto a baking tray. Make sure it has good separation, and we're gonna bake this at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 12 to 15 minutes. We're just drying it, not toasting it, so it holds structure but still absorbs flavor. Think of it like a sponge. If it's too soft, the bread will flood. Alternatively, if it's too hard, then it can't soak anything in. We're aiming for that middle ground. With the bread in the oven, we're gonna pull together our spice mix. This will be our backbone for our stuffing. It's what gives the bread and broth real complexity. Okay, so in a small bowl, we're adding poultry seasoning, which typically has no poultry in it, by the way, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, black pepper, and nutmeg. Give everything a quick stir to evenly blend the powders. This helps you season consistently later. No single bite ends up more seasoned than the rest. Set that aside and we'll bloom it in plant butter once we start cooking. Now, we're going to build a base that makes this taste like stuffing, aka dressing, but not seasoned bread pudding. In a skillet over medium heat, melt a few tablespoons of vegan butter. Add our diced onions, celery, and a pinch of salt. And we're gonna sweat this for about 8 to 10 minutes until tender and just starting to brown on the edges. Here's what's happening. The butter helps transfer flavor while the onions caramelize. That browning adds natural sweetness that balances all the herbs coming later. Back at it, we're gonna stir in our garlic and seasoning blend. Toast this for about 30 seconds to a minute until fragrant. This wakes up the spices and helps the fat carry those flavors deeper into our stuffing. Then we're going to deglaze the pan with a splash of apple cider, not apple cider vinegar. Please don't get that confused. Other options here could be white wine or just a little bit more vegetable stock. We're using this to scrape up the brown bits, but if you're using the cider or dry white wine, it will also enhance the flavors. All right, this is so exciting. We're right now looking at our foundation. Rich, aromatic, and buttery. I swear, every time I get to this point in the recipe, I start getting excited. Pause. Let's talk swaps for a sec. If you're soy-free, swap the miso paste for, say, like a soy-free bouillon or coconut aminos. You'll still get the umami flavor, different depth, but the stuffing will feel complete. The miso section is coming up in a sec, so just talking swaps before we get there. Now for the second big fix, moisture balance. Whisk 1 tablespoon of white miso into hot vegetable stock until fully dissolved. The heat here matters. Warm liquids soak evenly into the bread. Cold stock just sits on top. So later you get that dry top and soggy bottom. And miso is full of natural glutamates, the same savory compound that gives, like, you know, roasted meats, that deep, satisfying flavor. So miso is our vegan secret weapon. In cooking, that is. I wouldn't toss this at a burglar. Or maybe I would, you know. Really confuse them. With our bread dried and your aromatics ready, combine them in a big mixing bowl. Pour the onion and celery mixture over the bread cubes. Scatter in your fresh chopped herbs. Then slowly drizzle all over about 2.5 cups of that hot miso stock. Listen, this is where you want patience. Fold it together. Don't mash, don't mix. You're coating every cube with flavor. What you're not doing is making porridge. I like to take my spatula, I go underneath, and I lift straight up. The cubes will just fall in line. Let it rest 10 minutes. During this time, the bread absorbs moisture from the inside out, so you end up with structure on the outside, tenderness on the inside. If after resting, the bread still looks dry, go ahead and add that last 1/2 cup of vegetable stock. We're aiming for moist bread, not dry. If you can squeeze it together in your hand and it holds shape without, say, dripping, then it's perfect. All right, let's transfer the mixture into a buttered 9x13 dish. And for even more buttery flavor, you can drizzle over the remaining melted butter here. We're going to bake this in 2 stages. First, covered for 20 minutes. Let's the steam soften and marry the flavors. Then uncover for another 15 to 20 minutes. Gets you that golden and crisp top. This step locks in moisture while creating that contrast. Crisp edges, tender center, no soggy bottom. First time I made stuffing, I thought I nailed it. Pulled it out of the oven, all proud. And yet I made a 9x13 casserole soup. The next time I made it, I overcorrected and I made a crouton casserole. Pretty much just used it to prop doors open that year. I followed recipes both years, by the way, which led me to trying to figure out the balance. Hot stock, dry bread, and flavors, just built from the base on up. So no more guessing and following recipes that were probably mostly my fault. When it's done, let it rest for 5 minutes or so that the center sets. Then finish up with a little bit more of that chopped parsley, maybe even a sprinkle of flaky salt. Or if you're feeling festive, you could add toasted pecans or golden raisins for a pop of sweetness and crunch. And that's it. vegan stuffing that's rich, aromatic, and perfectly balanced. Not dry, not soggy, and definitely not bland. Every one of us gets this wrong about vegan stuffing. Until now. This full recipe you can find linked in the description or head right on over to my website, makeitdairyfree.com. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Until next time, believe in good. Peace.